Usually I'm happy on Friday. Are you guys usually happy on Friday? Yeah, but I'm kind of sad because this is the last day of our free week. So give me a thumbs up if you thought free week was awesome. 10 classes in 5 days. We did so much. The great thing is in the summer camp, we're going to spend the whole week diving into each one of these. We do have some good and bad news. So if you are just logging on or you tried to buy Creativity Camp after 11 p.m. last night, we were sold out. So we did not think that that would even happen, but everyone basically registered yesterday. So that's the bad news, that we're sold out. But the good news is I've talked to 8 out of the 10 instructors, and all instructors want to add a session. So we're just nailing down the time. I'm going to go on a limb and say it's going to be at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I know I promised you guys we would send out the form after this meeting, but we're going to wait because I know a lot of you guys did not have this information before. And I just want to lessen the amount of confusion that might happen later. So meaning, parents, you get to choose from 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and 1 a.m. And we're going to send this form out tomorrow at 9 a.m. So the first people who, families who registered first are going to be the first batch. We're going to send out the first 500 at 9 a.m. And basically 1 hour after that, we're going to send the next batch at 10 p.m. 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and whatnot. So I would highly suggest putting an alarm, waiting for that email, and registering, because we have over 5,000 people registered, and for you to get your thing, you want to just like make sure you get that link. We do have restrictions on the Zoom link, so that way we make sure that every single class that you register for, you're going to get it. All right, without further ado, I'm going to announce the winners. And by the way, we're also doing winners during the whole paid camp. So you'll be able to win books from like Vanessa, from Jessica. Do you know Chris also makes books? So we're gonna give out prizes and it'll be fun. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen to see who won for today. So Leela won, and she said this might be her favorite one. I love seeing the whole gang of artists. That's so awesome. And the next winner is Arnie. I just love reading this poem, so I'm going to just read you some of it. It says, art. There's something called art that brings us all together. When we hear art, we think of many things, colors, paint, and so many things that makes us want to faint. Wow, art is everywhere. Look here, look there, it's everywhere. You'll see it on the buildings, at the library, and even in your home. Now, when you think of art, you think near or far. You think of something that's really quite bizarre. Now, let me tell you now, that's something special. That's a special thing. So I love this poem. I hope you continue to keep writing it, and maybe we can make it a song. So, all right. I know you guys are wondering if you missed this morning session. Who won the iPad? Who won the iPad? Well, Paige, you won the iPad. WETING at, you can guess what it is. But you win the iPad, and I will be emailing you today to get your address, and we'll send this out to you. And then again, we are sold out, but you can join the wait list, and we're adding a new time slot. So it's 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let me check this slide right now. It's 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to send out the form tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And tonight we're going to after we confirm the last 2 teachers, we're going to open the wait list to enrollment. So that does mean we have a few more limited slots. So I would highly suggest join the wait list if you want to join. I'm 90% sure that we can do it. So without further ado, today is drawing with my good friend Chris Canga. And Chris is an amazing artist. He teaches at the Academy of Art. He also makes children's books, and he also loves planting a lot. He is quite a green thumb. But it's gonna be fun because he's gonna take you around the world in drawing in his class, and he's gonna teach you how to draw landscapes today. All right, Chris, it's all yours.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be here.
Oop. Sorry, Chris.
Right. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here with you guys. It'll be fun. It might be a little challenging, but there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm gonna try to really slow down so you guys can like pace with me. But let me go ahead and share my screen. Right. And so this is what we're going to draw. Yeah, this really, interesting shapes, and you've got the mountains, and I'll show you guys how to create that sense of depth. I'll also, give you guys this, where it's like a step-by-step thing, so you guys can like follow along. Like after the class, for the homework, you guys can use this as a guide for that. All right. But yeah, let me go ahead and open this up real quick. There's a weird humming in the background. I'm not sure if that's me.
Oh, it might be my air conditioner. Let me mute myself.
All right. So the main principle that we're going to work on today is, layering. And in a landscape, there's going to be, 3 main layers that I want you guys to focus on. All right. We're going to focus on the background, the middle ground, and the foreground. And it's basically back, middle, front. Okay. And this is going to be a step-by-step process. Right. So first of all, why is depth important in a landscape? Can anyone like answer that question? Maybe even call on someone.
All right, I'm going to do my best to pronounce this name. Zoria? Did I mess that up really badly?
No, you were great. It's Zaria. And depth is important in a landscape because it gives you more of a realistic feature. If you don't have depth in a landscape, it looks kind of plain. It looks like pencil on a paper.
Good. That's a really good answer. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so keep that in mind, guys. Super important for that reason. Oops. Yeah. Anyone else?
Brother wanted to say something, I think.
Okay.
Nope. Okay, they're good.
So basically, it's going to be a way for us to show distance, right? And things are going to feel like they go further back in space. So your paper ends up not being flat and it becomes 3-dimensional. So that's what's important about depth. In this particular drawing that I did, you could see that there's a lot of depth here, and I've color coded it for you guys. And so you have the background being in purple. You can kind of see that like we have that like mountain. And then we have the middle ground in blue. And then we have the foreground in green. All right. Now let's just kind of quickly take a close look at this image right here. And in this image, we have depth. We also have like a background, middle ground, and foreground. Can anyone answer, let's call on someone, but can anyone say which tree is the lightest in value?
Let's go to Lily. Hi, Lily.
It's the tree that's farthest away.
Yes, correct. Number 3. Which tree is the smallest in size?
I'll say the third one.
Very, very good. So you want to think of it like if like you see a car, like, traveling on a road going away from you, that car is going to get smaller and smaller as it goes further away in space. All right. So let's pick someone else. Which tree is the largest in size?
Great job, Lily. Okay. Let's go to Charlotte. Hi, Charlotte.
Hi.
Hello. Which tree is the biggest or largest in size?
Number 1.
Number 1. It's pretty obvious, right? Which tree is the darkest?
Number 1 as well.
Number 1 as well. Okay. So keep those things in mind. And so you'll notice that like the number 2 is in between. It's not necessarily the darkest or the lightest, and it's not necessarily the biggest or the smallest. So we just got to keep that in mind too as well. All right, here's another example where we have different sized trees, and you can kind of see here that it gets smaller and smaller as we go further and further away from us. And so this image also has depth. Here's an example of some mountains, and you can see here that they go lighter and lighter as they go further and further away. Okay, so keep that in mind. So just to recap, objects in the background are small and they're going to be lighter in value. Okay, objects in the foreground are larger and they're going to be darker in value. And then objects in the middle are in between size and value compared to the foreground and the background. All right, so why don't we go ahead and practice drawing these principles, right? Let me get out of this. I'm gonna open up. It should be already opened. Okay, good. All right, so I picked some reference for us, and it's just one of those things where I don't always copy a reference. Sometimes I'll just kind of like pick and choose what I like about it or use it for inspiration. And that's what's great about art is you don't always necessarily have to copy things. You could take a photo, find out what you like, and take those things, and whatever you don't like, you can kind of just like get rid of it. All right, I like just how this image has a lot of that depth we're talking about. There's a lot of that sense of distance. Over in this one over here in the middle, you can see that that mountain in the foreground is big. It's really big and it's dark, and you can see that happening. It gets smaller and smaller and lighter as we go further and further away from us. This is really cool. On the bottom one, we have that tree, and it's really dark because it's in the foreground, and we have like mountains in the middle ground that are kind of in between, and then mountains that are really light in the background. All right, so this top one I did, all right, and so we're gonna try to recreate that. All right, so let me just, all right, so we're gonna start by making some shapes. And for these mountains, like I saw someone eating like some ice cream earlier, we can kind of use like a popsicle shape. A popsicle is kind of like almost like a round-ish like triangle. And so I'm gonna go ahead and start at the top over here. And you guys can kind of follow along. And I'll go super slow. And you don't wanna, draw it too dark, because once again, we're gonna work on background, okay? And we're gonna work from back to front. So these mountains are really far. Right, so you could put as many of these as you want. I'm gonna go ahead and probably put 3. Oops. Just take your time with it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can kind of see that they kind of get smaller this way too as well. All right. So that's pretty good. So once you have that, go ahead and fill the shapes up with a little bit of that light value. I see a bunch of hands being raised. Heidi, should we like ask one person?
Yeah, if you have questions, I am going to lower all hands. And unfortunately, the way it's set up, if your video is not on, and if you're an attendee, your video won't be on. I'm not going to call on you just because I need to see your face to know that you're a safe person that's on. So let's look for hands up. And hopefully I say this right. Gotham? Is that right? Yeah? Did it show you a little button that says to unmute? There we go. Helped. Hi.
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 Do you have a question for Chris?
I don't really get like that.
Depth part.
Yeah, I don't really get it.
So we're gonna definitely, you know, I'm gonna show you how to do that, but we're gonna start with keeping things light in the background, and we're gonna make it darker as we go to the foreground. So just kind of follow along. I know it's like a complicated like thing, but I think if you follow along, you're gonna understand it. You know, that's why I'll take you through the step-by-step process.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And if you still don't understand it afterwards, you could ask me more questions.
Mm-hmm. And your parents can probably help too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try my best. All right. You can see here that they're kind of like popsicles. See, I'm kind of drawing like a little popsicle right here with a little stick. And so here's one, here's another one. So I'm just kind of drawing in with a line, and then I'm just filling up with value. Now, if you're using like a pencil, you could use the side of your pencil so you get like that thicker mark. And so I don't know if you can kind of see me right here, but if you have a pencil and you hold it up like this, and you do that with it, see how it makes a line? But if you hold the pencil at an angle so the eraser is closer to the paper, then you're gonna get like a thicker, you know, mark. See that? And so that's what you want to use when you're filling up the, you know, that shape in value. All right. And so I guess the challenge here is just kind of filling this up with an even coat of value, but just know that it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be super even, but you know, just try your best. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of trying my best to coat this with an even amount of value. And it does take a little bit of time. So, you know, it's okay to take your time in this part. And I think the more time you take in this part, the better it'll turn out. And so you can see here that I'm still not done. So, you know, it's not a race, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And this is fun. You know, I'm having a lot of fun as I'm kind of filling these shapes up with value. Drawing's always like been super fun for me ever since I was like you guys' age. You know, I love it.
Chris, I have a question for you. I don't know if it's just my screen, but all I see is your tool going up and down, and I don't actually see it getting darker at all. So either
maybe
you're very light.
you see it now?
I just see your tool.
Let me see. How about now? Made it darker.
No, maybe Ari can give us some tips.
You see that?
Nope.
That is so weird.
Yeah, you know what? Kids, are you able to see what he's drawing, or is that just me? Give me a thumbs up if you can see his coloring. Oh, they can't see it either. Okay. Ari, we need your help. We need your expertise. You went to have lunch. Okay. You know what we can do? It might be your screen sharing.
Okay, you could stop and try again.
Yeah, and maybe if you just choose that whole screen, like choose screen 2 instead of just that window.
Do that then.
Yeah, because sometimes it doesn't allow pop-up windows. Oh, Ari's back.
How about now? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Yay! Oh my gosh!
We all learned something together today. That was excellent.
Okay, let's just rewind and start back then. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys can see it now. Everything's good.
Just going backwards since we haven't
Yeah.
started over since we didn't see it.
Sorry.
No worries.
I just thought it was my old age, and I was like, wow, that must be really light.
Not that much gravity. Okay.
So once again, I'm going to start out with these popsicle shapes, you know, and I'm imagining one of these popsicles, you know, with like a stick. And I'm gonna add 3 of them. So there's one. Here's another. Keep it light, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Here's another. And see, once I have these kind of shapes here, these kind of like curved humps, then I can start to kind of fill it in with a little bit of value. And you still want to use like a light value. And once again, you could use the side of your pencil so it creates that thicker and fatter stroke. And
crayon, you can also do the side of the crayon. Just don't press very hard.
Don't push too hard. Yeah, the key here is learning to control your pressure. And that's what's not easy. That's what takes practice, a little bit of time. It's not too hard, but it's not easy either. I think you guys will pick it up fairly quickly. And I'm trying to put like an even coat of value, but it doesn't have to be perfect either. And so you can see here that it does take time. And I'm kind of moving slow. And actually, the slower you go, you know, the better it'll turn out. So if you're going slow, that's okay. That's super fine. And I'm going to make it so as we go down, it just kind of fades back to the white of the paper. So it's like even less pressure on the tool. See that? And you can see that the direction I'm going, I'm just kind of like stroking down with the tool. Little by little, bit by bit, it's starting to kind of come through. All right, so I guess thumbs up if you guys are following along, and thumbs to the side if you need more time. Okay, nothing wrong with that. I'm gonna take my time too then.
Yep.
We're all gonna take our time.
These kids are making me hungry. I've seen ice cream. I just saw a lollipop. I think maybe cereal or ramen or something.
You know, I use a lot of like, I think of food when I'm like creating these shapes pretty often. So I don't know what's wrong with me, but I do get hungry when I draw.
Yeah, if everything's a popsicle
or a pizza or an ice cream cone.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you go to your eraser and just kind of erase some of the stuff and just kind of clean it up a little bit. See how I'm going here, and I'm just kind of erasing some of these things here just to kind of clean up. It doesn't have to be perfect, like I said, but if there's a few things that kind of just stick out and don't look good, you know, you can kind of use your eraser and just kind of clean it up. I love the eraser. It's like one of my best friends, you know. It definitely makes it so no one gets to see my mistakes, and I love it for that reason.
I thought I was your best friend, but I see how that is.
You're a really good friend too. You're neck and neck.
I don't get rid of your problems for you, though. I understand.
All right, and see here, as at the bottom, it just kind of, I'm putting less pressure and just kind of getting it to fade. You can kind of see here that the shape of the top of these mountains are a bit kind of like hard edged. But as we go to the bottom here, it just kind of fades. And what that's going to end up looking like is that it's going to look like we have a little bit of mist and fog at the bottom. And so it's going to give it a really, really, really cool effect. Okay. And then I know it's not easy, but just try your best to make it lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter as it goes down. All right. So the next step, and I'll do this in like a different color real quick, just so you can kind of just see what I'm doing here, is I'm going to change the shapes a little bit of our popsicle hills. So they're not perfect, you know, because if you look at mountains, they're never just like perfect curves. They're jaggedy, there's bumps, there's lumps, you know, there's all kinds of weird stuff on them. So like, see, look at this. See how I'm going to going in a circle, and over here I'm going like in another circle. I'm gonna do that, but using the same value. Okay, so I'm gonna take that away because I don't think I really want those type of trees right now, that color. And these are kind of mimicking trees. These are like little trees on top of the mountains. And some of them can be a little bit larger. See this one here. So I'm just kind of going in like a circular motion. We have another one here, maybe another one there. You know, we don't need to put a lot of these, but a little bit is good. Like I said, so our mountain doesn't look like they're just these perfect, you know, like arches. All right, so everyone doing good? Thumbs up if you're doing good. If you're still working on it, it's okay.
I think a lot of them are doing pretty well. Some of
Okay,
them are very detailed.
Good. We'll eventually add more detail though, so don't worry too much about the detail just yet. Yeah, and we'll work on that in a little bit. All right.
Do you want
So
to answer a question before we move on, just to give them 1 second?
yeah, sure.
Okay. Sierra, you have your hand up. Do you want to ask a question? Yeah. All right. All right. Can you see that? There you go.
Great question. Also, I'm walking the biggest fan. So how we're going to do the tree details, like the darker ones, like what if the pencil's not this kind of ones?
Say that again.
How do you use the pencil when it's like dark?
How do you make the pencil dark? Yeah.
So depending on the type of pencil you have, like they have different ranges. So like if you have a pencil that says H on there, that's a hard lead, and those type of pencils don't go too dark. You want to have a pencil that has a B, B in it. So it's like 1B, 2B, 3B. And then the higher you go on the B scale, then that pencil lead gets softer and you can go darker. And then you can also go the opposite where it's like, 1H, 2H, 3H. And then the higher you go in that range, the lead gets harder, and it's really hard to make a dark mark. So a good in-between pencil is an HB. It's got hard and soft. But if for pencil, ideally for shading, you want to have like maybe a 2B or a 3B or even higher, something soft. A crayon is super soft, so if you're using a crayon, then that's good. Many color pencils are like super soft, so if you're using like a colored pencil, that's also like really, really good. But yeah, sometimes it gets a little harder depending on what type of pencil you're using. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And thank you. I'm one of your biggest fans too.
Yeah.
I'm at your classes.
Thank you. Yeah. Did you know there were that many kinds of pencils?
No.
Right? Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot. It can get really complicated.
Awesome. That's a great question. Thank you, Sierra.
Yeah, really, really good question.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm still working on mine. I'm still doing these kind of circular motions on top of the popsicles. So the popsicles aren't super perfect. So I guess should I move on to the next layer?
I think it's safe to do that. And there are still people working, but they can come fill in the gaps later.
Sure. Okay, so it's going to be the same thing basically, but I'm just going to make my mountains a little bit darker. Okay, we don't want to go too dark because we're going to save that for the foreground. So these are the background mountains, and then now we're going to work on the the middle ground mountains now. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and once again I'm just going to draw my popsicle, and this is kind of like half a popsicle. You can kind of just imagine the mountain being cropped by the edge of the paper right here. So this probably goes off like in that direction and becomes a full mountain, but because my paper ends right there, we only get half that popsicle.
And would they change the value if they're using crayons or just a regular pencil, just by applying more pressure or using a different color crayon?
You can use a different color if you want, but I would say if you're still using the same, crayon, that's fine too. You would just change your pressure. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and make another. You want to vary up, where you put these arches or popsicles. So this one's a little bit lower. And then this one, I'm going to put this one up a little bit higher right here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and add one more over here. Okay. And then same thing, I'm just going to go ahead and take my time, and I'm just going to slowly, slowly, slowly fill this up with some value. You can kind of see here that the value I'm using is darker now compared to the background mountains. Remember, we talked about that. Background things are going to be lighter in value. All right, see, I'm also taking my time. And the more you use this side of your tool, the quicker this will be for those of you guys that really want to try to speed up the process. Just because you'll just get a fatter stroke, and it'll cover more paper if you do that. So that's a little tip there if you want to go faster. Make sure that eraser is a little bit closer to the paper when you're shading. That way your strokes become thicker. Yeah, you can see here that like the way I'm doing the value, there's parts of it that are darker, parts of it that are lighter. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's definitely, darker compared to the background mountains. And then same thing, I'm gonna make sure that the value gets lighter and lighter and lighter as we go a little bit closer to the bottom of the paper. And once again, that's gonna create that sense of mist. You can call it atmosphere too as well. It's basically like moisture in the air, like on a foggy day. Sometimes atmosphere can be created by like dust, like if it's a dusty day. And if you're in a city, it could be created by like pollution, like smog and things like that coming out of cars and buildings, making the air like kind of weird, not really the best quality. So there's a lot of things that can create that atmosphere. I like it when it's misty because of water, not because of like, it's like, nasty stuff like smog in the air. And I think animals and, nature likes that better too, that way too as well. Yeah, landscape, you really get to draw a lot of nature, which I love, 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 love. Like, see here, it's getting lighter and lighter. Less pressure as you go down, less pressure, and you're going to create that sense of fog and atmosphere.
And in your classes, you're going to be taking us around the world. That was making me think that this picture reminds me of a lot of some mountains that I've seen in China.
Yeah, these are like definitely inspired by that for sure. I'm wondering, I mean, they could be other places that have mountains like this too. Not just China. I think the Philippines and, Vietnam and places like that have them too as well. But yeah, they do have them in that part of the world.
I've been to Guilin in China, and there's these mountains just like that. It's so green and beautiful. Guilin,
very cool.
The backpacker's dream. I want to go back there. And you can do all the fun things. You can go kayaking, hiking.
That sounds super fun.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doing, I know, right? Let's go. If you're doing this in color, I mean, you could have values in color too, right? So let's just say you want to use green for the mountains. You could use a light green for the background mountains. And then for the middle ground mountains, you could use a medium value green. Or if let's just say you want to use brown for the mountains, you could use a light brown for the background and a medium brown for the middle ground. Okay, so this can all be done in color too as well. And same thing, I'm going to go ahead and start to kind of make these mountains so they're not so perfect. And so I'm going to kind of make these circular marks right here. And we could do, we'll definitely do more of this later on, but a little bit of it is good to do for now. So you can already kind of just see it starting to look more realistic. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make it look little bit more realistic, little by little. Yeah, so already there's that sense of depth, okay? Earlier, you know, like we didn't really get that depth yet because we only had like one layer, right? So now there's 2 layers, so now it's gonna feel like it goes a little bit further back in space now, okay? So the depth thing is one of those things that like, it's something to look forward to. You don't necessarily get that right away when you first start drawing. And there's things with drawing where you have to just be patient and just kind of like wait for the results. It's like cooking, right? It's like, oh, I want to taste the food, but it won't taste good till you're done with the cooking the dish. So
if you start licking raw chicken, you're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah, my daughter likes to, you know, when we're making like cookies, get the, you know, the batter.
Yeah, half the dough gets eaten.
Yeah, cookie dough and all that stuff. So she can't, you know, she can't wait. She's super impatient. So and I tell her, just be patient. But the cookie dough is so good. Okay, fine. Guess we can enjoy that too. All right,
Yeah,
so
but look how much better it is.
so thumbs up if you guys are following along. Thumbs to the side if you still need a little bit more time.
I'm
Okay.
giving a lot of thumbs up. A lot to the side. A lot to the side while they're moving their pencil.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys just a few more minutes then, and I'm gonna still work on my middle ground mountains. There's always something to do, you
Mhm.
know, so I could always add more of these circles. And once again, these circles are representing what? Can anyone answer that? What are these little circles on top of the mountains here representing?
Ooh, let's ask Allison. Allison says she knows. Allison, do you see a button on your computer? Do you want to unmute yourself there?
Please.
Yeah.
What did you just say?
So what are these little circles that I'm making? What do they represent? What are they trying to be?
The tree.
Trees. Very good.
Great.
Very good.
Tell your mom her Alexa says
Yeah, I hear Alexa.
Oh.
All right, and so we can make these trees a little bit bigger compared to the background trees that we have on these mountains. And so I'm just gonna making some of these circles a little bit bigger. They don't all have to be a lot bigger, but just a little bit, you know. And we'll get into it a little bit more. We'll add some complexity and more detail to the trees towards the end. Lighter, 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 lighter as we go further down. Lighter, lighter. Once again, this edge here is a little bit sharper. And then the bottom, it just kind of fades off. We're gonna get that fog to really, really look good. All right, okay. So should I move on? Should I move on to the next layer, which is gonna be our foreground layer?
I see very mixed emotions. I see a lot of kids going, no, 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 no. A lot of thumbs up.
I mean, I can always work on my middle layer, you
Why don't
know?
we take some questions, Chris? Can you take some questions?
Yes, sure.
So, hey guys, if you guys have a question, why don't we lower all hands so that way make sure that the blue hands that are up.
Refresh
Okay.
questions.
Go for it.
All right. And I'm gonna scroll through here really quick and make sure. Rose, hi Rose.
So for the layer, like it's kind of hard for me to like find or make the colors like light and like dark. So like what should I do?
So the quick question is just like, you know, you just have to practice it. You know, it's not always the easiest thing to do because you're messing around with the pressure that you're putting on your drawing tool, and that takes practice. You know, the easy answer is just push a little bit harder compared to what you're doing when you're doing the background layer. but I know it's not always easy to do that. And so I just want you to try your best, try your best, and you'll get better and better and better the more you practice this. Like, I've been doing these drawings ever since I was your age, and it took a while. It took a while for me to really get good at putting values and things like that. It took a lot for me to get good at a lot of things, and that's why I still draw up to now, because there's always ways to improve. I'm still trying to be better. I want to just get better and better. And so I just practice, and you just have to have fun doing it. I have a lot of fun doing this, and if you have fun, you're going to do it more and more and more. One of the ways I'm having fun right now is I'm going, I want to be there. Like, I want to be at this place. Like me, you heard Ari, talking about, how cool these type of places were, or are, and so like, I want to be there right now. And if I can't be there right now, I'm going to be there in my drawing.
You can also experiment. So there's two main ways of making it lighter or darker. So it's the pressure, it's how hard. So practice. If I you can experiment. If I push this one tool the hardest I can, how dark is it? And then medium, and then light. And you practice that part. But sometimes you have to change the tool. Chris was talking about softness of the tool. So you can also, if it's the green, what's your tool that you're using?
Me, I'm using a pencil and oil pastels.
Okay, so let's look at the pencil. What is it? Is it B, 2B? Can you see on the pencil what number or letter? Okay, does it have a letter on it?
No.
Like, even your normal ones that you use for school will have like a HB on it.
Yeah. Okay, so this is probably the reason why you might be having trouble. So everyone, I want you guys to go out. If you're having trouble, get an HB and a 2B and a 4B.
Yeah.
So the HB is going to be your light one. So that's kind of hard and soft. And if you just press a little bit, it's going to be pretty light. Your B can be your medium, or your 2B can be your medium. And then 4B or 6B can be your front one. So that's another good lesson, is that sometimes we have bad materials. It doesn't matter how hard you practice. You might think, oh, I can't do it. It just means that your tools are not very good. So I'm glad we kind of went through this. So you can still watch the replay and practice the best you can now, and then ask mom to help you get HB, 2B, and 4B. I would say those three.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Great job. Yeah, it's like cutting a steak with a spoon if you don't have the right tool sometimes.
Yeah, that's
I try
good.
that
That's a
all the
good
time.
analogy.
I just rip it
I
with
just
my
eat with
teeth.
my bare hands.
Doesn't turn out perfect. It might work, but it's not perfect.
There's easier ways to do it.
You're gonna have to do a research trip to Guilin
Yes.
and eat noodles in the noodle houses.
Sounds good.
Man, we're really getting hungry here, I think.
No.
All right. It's normal for us. All right. Are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
Thumbs
We
up?
ready? Thumbs up.
Looking pretty good. I would say it's time to move on.
Okay, cool. All right, so now I'm gonna work on my foreground layer, which is also our front layer. Now, when we add this layer, the depth of our image is really gonna go up, right? The more layers, it's gonna feel like things go further back in space. We're gonna have more distance. So I'm gonna go ahead and make it darker. And it's gonna be the same thing. I'm thinking about like popsicles again. And this is gonna be a huge popsicle. You don't get to see all of it, you just get to see a little bit of it. But this one's a big popsicle, okay? I'm gonna make another one right here. Another big popsicle. They kind of look like rainbows too, I guess. They kind of just arch. If you're into rainbows, you could think of it that way. I'm gonna do another one right here. Maybe another one right there, okay? So we have 4 of these hills or mounds. And then same thing, I'm gonna go ahead and fill this up with that darker value. See, notice that we're just kind of repeating the same steps over and over again. And that's where the practice comes in. And, you know, with regards to drawing, you're going to be using these same principles over and over and over and over again. And you're just going to get better and better as you keep on doing this. That's something to really, really look forward to. And see, so you just got to push a little harder now to get that darker mark. And if you can't go too dark, that's okay. Like Ari said, you might need to, you know, buy that tool that's a little softer so you can make darker marks. But just try your best to go as dark as you possibly can. I'm going to go ahead and work on this side too as well. And so sometimes you'll see me be quiet because it takes a lot of focus and, you know, to really get these to look good, to get to blend well. Drawing takes a lot of focus, and that's one of the things I love about it too as well.
You know, in my family, we have a joke. Sometimes when we're really focused on something, a few of us always stick our tongue out, like just a little bit out. That's really focused. We have some fun habits when we're focused, I think.
There's that tongue, the tongue, you know, when you're thinking, you know, that kind of like pose too as well. Makes me think of that, about that.
Yep, Adam's practicing this face. I see you, Adam.
You know, I do make a lot of faces when I'm drawing, especially when I'm drawing people. Like if I'm drawing someone mad, I'll just, you know, I'll have that mad face, or someone kind of being silly, I'll have that silly face. And it's just kind of funny how drawing does that to you. You kind of become the characters that you draw.
Even like texting or writing a message, like you look for an emoji and I'm always making the face of the thing I'm looking for. I see a lot of great art happening.
Good, 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 good.
Ooh, some of them are ready.
Right, and as you can see here, I am making it get a little bit lighter at the bottom, but it's still fairly dark compared to everything else. But it's really dark up here towards the edge of the hills or mountains. So there's a little bit of it fading away as it goes further down, just a little bit. Nothing too crazy. Right, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. See, it's the exact same thing I was doing for the other mountains, making these little circles so they don't end up being super perfect arches. And you can go a little bit bigger and go like this because, you know, this is up closer. And so these trees or bushes, they could be bushes too as well. They're a lot larger because they're in the foreground, they're in the front. So let me kind of just quickly go a different color so you can see what I mean, because like you might not be like able to see it. So this circle right here that I just made, it's a lot larger compared to, you know, that circle. See, these circles are pretty big compared to these little circles right here. See that? So that's what I mean about kind of just making the circles a little bit bigger when we're working on this foreground layer. All right, and you could really spend a lot of time doing this. I'm telling you, you could take this drawing and spend hours on it, you know. And I used to do that all the time, you know. When I was a little kid, I would just spend hours and hours on one drawing. Super fun.
You were a very focused little boy.
No, it was just fun. I think that's the reason why I did it, you know. Because if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't be doing it. I'd be doing something else.
Yep. I don't think that ever changes, no matter how old you get.
All right. Okay. So thumbs up if you're kind of roughly around the same stage as me.
Let's see. Okay, we're getting some thumbs up.
We're getting some thumbs up.
Oh.
Good.
Couple thumbs down. Couple hang looses, some shakas.
Yeah, don't worry too much if you're not exactly where I'm at. Like I said, it takes a little bit of time. I'm going to go ahead and spend my time just kind of erasing right here. See this? Just kind of cleaning this up so my edge looks good. All the little marks that kind of stray out of the box, at the edge of my paper. I'm just taking the time to clean up. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and also work on just getting some of these blends to blend a little bit better. See, and it does take so much time.
And Chris, it is 1:51, so if you need to move on, you can do that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, I just know you have your class.
So I'm going to go ahead and create more trees, but now I'm going to make them super big. I'm going to start with the top of the tree, the part of the tree with all the leaves. And so I'm going to go ahead and once again, we're just using circles over and over again, or ovals, circles and ovals. I'm going to put one here. I'm going to put another one here. See that? And then I'm going to put two circles kind of connecting next to each other. See that? It almost kind of looks like a peanut. Right.
We are hungry.
Yeah, right. See, it's always food. There's another one right here. Maybe a little circle right here connecting this. Maybe another one over here. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and put some on this side too as well. And these are representing our bigger trees and the tops of our bigger trees. See how this right here is just 3 circles. 1, 2, 3 to kind of create that weird shape. I'm going to go ahead and create another big circle or oval up here. And and eventually if you want to do like triangle shaped trees, you can, You can do boxy, shaped trees, kind of like Minecraft trees. You could do that too as well. So, if you feel like doing triangle shaped trees, go ahead and do it, Don't let what you want to do stop you. Just because I'm making circles, you don't have to necessarily do circles. So the super fun part about this is making the branches connect to the top. That's like super fun. That's why I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get to that stage. So like looking forward to it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, and basically the branches or the trunks of the trees are just gonna be like curved lines. All right, so watch this. A curved line that lives right there. Here's another curved line, but maybe it goes the opposite way and it goes there. Here's another curved line that curves this way. And it attaches to the mountains, okay? Because the roots need to have soil to grow on. So, and then we're gonna have another one right here. I guess they don't need to if you're trying to grow hydroponically. Wait a minute, there's always ways to break the rules. Here's another one. And so I'm gonna create smaller branches now. You can see that the trunk is a bit thicker. Just like on a real tree, the main trunk's super thick, and all the little branches that shoot out from that main tree is thinner. So like you get like a thick trunk like this, and then you get these thinner branches that kind of just shoot out of the main trunk. And let's just say we have our leaves or broccoli. It looks like broccoli. See that? So you have our bigger trunk, and so that's what I'm doing here. I'm creating little tiny branches. And then maybe another tiny branch right there. And then maybe another trunk that's kind of somewhat thick right there. And then another little branch right here. And you don't have to put your branches or trunks exactly exactly where I'm putting mine. You know, just put them where you feel like they look good on yours. Everyone's gonna have a different drawing, and that's what's gonna be cool. That's what's gonna make yours like, you know, original and your own. All right, I'm gonna start working on the trunks and branches on this side and start connecting it to the tops of the trees. See, the first one I do is the thicker trunk. See, I always like to do the thick trunks first and then do the thinner branches kind of popping out. And once again, don't let it kind of be too complicated in your mind. They're just curves. See, that's just a curve. All it is a curved line. I'm gonna curve this one this way and have more little branches attaching and going to the main trunk, the thick part. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same for this. And then do the same for this. Maybe another one over here that kind of goes the opposite way. I always think that that's the last branch I'm going to draw, but that's never the case. There's another one. And here's another one. It's just so fun. You just keep on going and add more and more branches. You can keep on going with adding more tops of trees. Look at this. I'm going to add another one over here. That kind of goes off the paper. And then maybe you see the trunk kind of going like this. See how it's curving the opposite way compared to some of these trunks? And I'm just gonna go ahead and clean up the edge here, like that. So already we're getting more depth now. So I'm gonna go ahead and create trees on the middle ground mountain. I'm gonna go back to the middle ground and using the same technique I did for the trees in the foreground, it's just I'm gonna make the trees in the middle ground smaller compared to the foreground trees. Okay, and I'm gonna use the same value I was using for the middle ground mountain. And so same thing here, so that circle, another circle attaching to it, circle here, another circle attaching to it. Maybe this one has 3 circles attaching to it. Maybe there's another one right here. Oh, maybe there's one over here. I forgot about this little area. We need trees up here too. Yeah, this is starting to really, really come together now. So hopefully you guys' drawings are also coming together. Once again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, if you're getting the values correct and the sizes correct, you're gonna have that depth. All right, so you can see my trees popping out there for the middle ground mountains. And I'm gonna go ahead and attach the trunks and branches to them too as well, because those trees also have them. Maybe another one here. It's never done. There's always ways to put more and more and more, you know, and you can call this detail. As we're doing this, we're going from the big shapes to smaller and smaller and smaller shapes. We're working on detail. And this is good. It's really starting to come together because you need both. You need to be able to see the big picture, which is what we were doing with the big shapes. And you also need to be able to see the details too, which is, you know, just as important.
Mm-hmm. For those of you who are taking, sorry, Chris, for those of you who are taking the summer camp and are going to be doing Chris's classes, they have little sketchbooks that you can buy, and then your papers are only, you know, that big. I know that's what Ari carries around with him on his bike rides, and it's much easier to do all of the page. There it is. Yeah, that way you don't have a big, huge piece of paper you're trying to fill in. So I'm looking at some of your paper and it's pretty big. You guys got your work cut out for you.
All right, so I'm going to show you guys how to do a really easy and quick waterfall. Super easy. You know, we kind of did it a little bit like last week on the bonus slide day. And I'm going to show you how to make a waterfall by your eraser. Yes, your eraser. All right, so in between these two mountains here, we're gonna have water shooting down. And I'm just literally going to erase a little line down the middle, a little line, and I'm gonna have that line get thicker and thicker. I'm erasing this. And then as we go to the bottom, you can kind of do like circle shapes to represent like, you know, some of the motion and bubbling and the mist coming out of the waterfall. And it's just literally doing that, and voila, you have a waterfall. Super easy. I'm gonna put tons of waterfalls. I know you guys like waterfalls. And so I'm putting another one right here.
Where's all this water coming from?
I know, right? It's our imaginary place, right? So you could just say there's a river up there, maybe, you know, something. There's something where we have like water.
Magic.
Magic. Very, yeah, that's a good word for it. This is definitely magic. And I'm gonna do another one over here for our middle ground. So we have our background waterfalls in our background hills, and then we have our middle ground waterfalls for our middle ground hills. And once again, my eraser, and you can just take your time, go light, and then as you go down, make it thicker and thicker. Because waterfalls, you know, start out thin at the top, and they just get thicker and thicker. And at the bottom, I'm kind of doing these kind of circular shapes to represent some of the water kind of moving and bubbling, you know, whatever you want to think of it, but there's motion there. Some of it's like blowing in the wind. All right, so you can see that already you have that illusion. See, we're magicians. These are illusions that we're creating, you know. We're getting that sense of water, we're getting that sense of depth, we're getting the sense of nature. It's all illusions, you know, we're all magicians. All right, last thing, I just kind of thought about something. I didn't really do it in my first drawing over here, but why don't we put a bridge? That would be super cool. So let's go ahead and put a bridge in the foreground right here. And it's literally just gonna be lines, super easy. So watch this. We're gonna have like a line doing that, all right? And then maybe, so that's kind of more of a straight line. And then maybe over here, a curved line. And already you have a bridge. You know, if you want to put a house in the foreground or a house in the middle ground, you can do that too as well. But let me go ahead and connect the top part of the bridge to the bottom part of the bridge. And again, these are just lines that go up and down, 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 up and down. You could put like a little person on the foreground if you want to, and that'll give you a sense of how big things are if you put a person, because once you see a person, we kind of go, oh, okay, I know how big a person is. And then you put a small person next to a tree, then it's gonna make that tree look gigantic. So right now, these trees look gigantic because bridges are big, right? Bridges, people walk on bridges, cars and buses and trucks go on bridges. So if a bridge is this size, these are huge trees. So I like doing that because it gives you that sense of scale. All right. And I guess lastly, if you want to put a few clouds, you know, in the background, you can. And I would just go super light with them. And again, we're just going to use circle shapes. So I'm going to go ahead and see, really light. See, I'm just kind of going in that circular motion. Circular motion. Circular motion. Another one over here. Try to go as light as you can for these because these clouds are really, really far in the background. So now we have more than 3 layers, right? We have the 2 or the 3 mountain layers, and then we have the sky layers. That's like 4 layers. And so, you know, as you do this more and more, you can put more and more layers. You know, today we're just kind of simplifying a little bit with 3 layers. And you can still get really cool looking landscapes with just 3 layers. But just know that you can go down with it. You can really, really, you know, put as many layers as you want going back in space. And so see, we have a cloud behind this mountain, and maybe there's another one here. And these are just circular motions that I'm making once again, where I'm just kind of going really, really light. You know, I just thought about, you know, I'm gonna put a bird or birds, right? So let's go ahead and I'm going to use a little bit of a darker value, maybe the same value as like the middle ground over here. And, you know, and then there's little V's, right? A little V. That's easy. Anyone can do a V. You guys can all do it. So I'm just gonna put one V right there. And then maybe the other V is a little bit spread out. See, you could have a V that's a little bit, you know, closer together. And you could have one where it's a little bit more spread out. And so I'm gonna go ahead and do that over here. Right there. And then maybe one more tiny little V right there. So now we just kind of have 3 birds that like live in this image and just kind of flying and having a good time.
Hey, Chris, I'm seeing some excellent work. Do you want to spotlight and see some?
Sure, I'd love to.
All right, guys. So if you want to show your work, hold them up. Hey, Chris, would you mind stop screen share?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Oh, wow. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. That's great. I like how you put the bridge in the background for yours. Good. Very, very cool. Nice. This is so fun. I love it. This is the funnest part about teaching you guys, is seeing what you guys do.
That one's impressive.
Oh, very exciting. I love it. So cool.
Ariana, you guys are on.
Tina, beautiful.
Nice.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Hi, Beer. You're
You
up
guys are
next.
making me super happy right now.
Beer, so good.
Whoa, that is so good.
Closer. There you go.
Oh my gosh, that is so good.
Are you sure your mom didn't do that?
You did that all by yourself. Oh my gosh. And I like how you guys are putting your mountains in different places than what I did, and your trees in different places, because now you're really making it your landscape, your own. Very cool.
Ian, yours is awesome.
There you go.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh yeah, those foreground trees really work because you're making them super big.
Yeah, I like
Very,
that.
very cool.
That feels also like a different kind of forest.
Nice.
Oh, very
Yeah, you got that
cool.
fog effect going on too. I love that.
Yeah.
Looks like a lot of you guys are getting that fog effect. Very, very cool. I see the birds on you.
Yeah, you guys are next. Yep. Sophie, do you have yours?
Cool.
Yeah.
And you know what? You can get creative even with the what's flying in the air, right? You could put like an airplane, you could put dragons, you know, a flying unicorn. I mean, there's so much you could do with what you want to have flying in, you know, in your landscape.
Yeah.
Love it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
that's
colors.
So cool.
I love that you
Yeah,
use
I like the colors that you're adding in. Very cool.
Grace, awesome.
Jonathan, this one's really great.
Yeah.
That one.
Oh, look at the
yeah.
house.
That one.
Yeah. And then you have a person walking on the bridge. I like that.
It's
Good
like a
call.
Chinese painting.
Yeah. He better not fall, right? That's a high bridge.
Oh, that one's
Be
nice. Too.
careful.
Very sure-footed.
Mhm.
Ooh,
Very
Willie. Look at this. And Mom. Pretty impressive, Mom. Mom's work.
Willie's got the
Good
colors.
job, guys.
Nice.
Yeah. I love
Yeah,
it.
I'm excited to see what you guys do for the homework. Do you want me to talk about the homework?
Yes. Let's talk about homework.
Okay, so for the homework, you just have to create one landscape that shows, you know, the background, middle ground, and foreground layers. And it's up to you what type of landscape you want. It could be any landscape you want. It could be a bunch of volcanoes. It could be like a forest type landscape. I mean, anything you want. It could be city landscape, you know, where you just kind of have the buildings getting lighter and lighter as they go back in space. I mean, it's up to you. But yeah, try to have one with the 3 layers. And if you want to do more than 3 layers, you can. But three is a good number to shoot for. And yeah, and just try to show that depth, that distance in your piece. Sound good?
Give us a thumbs up if that sounds good, guys.
That sounds awesome.
You're gonna do show depth through the layer. I think there was 2 main ideas that Chris taught is layers with light value, so lighter in the back and darker when you go up front. And then they also did the shapes. So it's the shape that you repeat, if it goes back further, it's smaller. And if it's closer, you make it bigger. And you just overlap those two things. So even cityscapes, it's just a bunch of rectangles. Overlapping rectangles, right?
And then you could have the buildings in the foreground be larger compared to the buildings in the background, right? So you can just kind of show the depth that way too as well. So
Awesome.
yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do. I can't wait. So cool.
Well, thank you, Chris. That was a great lesson. And very
my pleasure. I had so much fun with you guys. I'm looking forward to having you join me again in the future to draw. It'll be really fun.
So Chris has already said that he can do 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I'm just going to remind everyone who wants to join. We're opening some more slots, and you can go to re.com /summer to join the wait list. There's a $20 deposit, and if we don't run them, which I'm 99% sure we are, we'll give you your money back. Otherwise, then we will, once we open enrollment again, you'll be able to just pay $107. And so for 5 weeks, 5 days a week, and you get all the replays and slides, and they're even downloadable. So it's literally a no-brainer. When I say that, I'm not exaggerating. You want every single kid to just have fun this summer, make it one of your best creative summers ever. And I'm pretty sure we're going to come out with some background painters in here, some landscape painters in here. And, you know, something that I like to do when I go on vacation is just take an afternoon for landscaping. So what you're learning here is actually the very beginning for landscaping. So if you like painting, being able to draw a landscape and know value is really important. And then you can just add color. Right? All right. Well,
sounds good.
Give me a thumbs up. Thank you, Chris. Let's all give Chris a round of applause. Thank you, Chris. That was awesome.
Round of applause for you guys too. You guys also
you guys did great.
Yeah.
Yes. Post on Facebook and Instagram. We want to see your guys' work. And so you've actually got 2 things to post. You've got the one you did today, and then you're going to use something in your imagination. So you can use cityscapes, desert, anything you want.
Whatever you want.
Okay.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we've had a great week with you.
Yes, thank you for spending the amazing week with us. We hope you continue with us next week. And everyone who's registered, quick reminder, you will get the email tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. if you register early. If not, then it'll be like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. or 12 or noon. And that is Pacific Standard Time. So, Heidi, do you want to take us out?
Yes, if you'll push the button for me.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you to all of us. And goodbye in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Bye, thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.